Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first installment of RP Legends. Now today we're going to start off with something easy, which is the basics of role-playing, what roleplay is and what sort of formats they have. Let's get into it. Now there are several varieties of RPGs that also exist in electronic media, such as multiplayer text-based MUDs, private chat rooms on things such as AOL or D20. Man, I love D20 guys, D20 is good. And of course the multiplayer online RPG games, MMORPGs that are currently out right now. Ashes of Creation and Chronicles of Ilaria. I'm talking about you guys. Oh man, I can't wait for that. That's going to be covered in another segment. But man, those are the games. If you're looking for any kind of roleplay in a MMORPG, those are the two games you guys have got to get a hold of. I can't even stress that enough. But I'm getting off track. Let's continue on. Tabletop, also known as the pen and paper of the role-playing format. RPGs are conducted through discussions in a small social gathering. The GM describes the game world and its inhabitants. All other players describe the intended actions of their characters, and the GM describes the outcome. Now, this is usually determined based on the stats of the individual character versus the difficulty, plus whatever dice rolls that you may or may not have in the game, such as Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons was actually one of the first commercially available RPGs in the game. It was inspired by fantasy literature and the wargaming hobby that was published in 1974. Now, this format is often simply referred to as role-playing game, just to distinguish the form of RPGs from the other formats. Let's move on to the next category. Live action roleplay. A LARP is played more like improvised theater. Participants act out their characters' actions instead of describing them, and the real environment is used to represent the imagery settings of the game world. Players are often costumed as their characters and use appropriate props, and their venue may be decorated to resemble the fictional setting. Some live-action role-playing games use rock, paper, scissors or comparison attributes to, resolve conflict symbolically, while other lives use physical combat simulating, such as airsoft guns or foam weapons, guys. Now that is Dagger here and Dagger here, Amped Guard, things like that. Ugh, great games all. LARPs vary in size from a handful of players to several thousands, believe it or not, guys, and in a duration from a couple of hours to several days, because the number of players in a LARP is usually larger than a tabletop role-playing game, and the players may be interacting in separate physical spaces. There are typically less of an emphasis on lightly maintaining a narrative or directly entertaining the players in game sessions. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that sometimes people are just going to dress up the part, they'll wear the LARP swords, they'll engage in combat, but there won't be a lot of role-play aspects there. And typically, if there's going to be any roleplay, it won't be participating during the actual combat scenes. It would be more or less after or in between, such as the breaks. You go somewhere on a camping retreat for the weekend. There's a lot of combat, a lot of fighting for like the first 8 to 10 hours, and then after that everybody cools down, they go back to their camp, and at that point that's really where the roleplay is going to take place, if anything was to go down there. Moving on. Now, the real difference between single player and multiplayer role-playing games really is just the fact that in single player you can't really role-play. You're basically acting out whatever mechanics, such as, let's just say you wanted to play Nier or any other PS4 game, any other console-based electronic game. You're not really able to role-play. You're really just interacting with the game and its environment based on the prerequisite settings that the game allows. You really don't have a say in what goes on. Maybe some games like Mass Effect will give you multiple options in which you can, play your character as best that the game allows you to. But it's really not role-play in the truest sense. It's just really one of those pick-and-choose scenario games. So I'm going to exclude single-player just from this format because it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Now, with multiplayer is a little bit different. Online text role-playing games, that's a lot of multiplayer action there. It involves many players using some type of text-based interface and internet connection to play an RPG. Games played in real-life time, which will include MUD, Mushes, and the like. Like I said before, AOL roleplay was always good. D20, my personal new favorite now, because things have gotten hard with the AOL chat rooms. I'm not sure what's going on there anymore, but if you're ever looking to go into the arts and entertainment, is a good place to look up self-made role-playing locations. Massive multiplayer online role-playing games such as MMORPGs combine a large-scale social interaction and persistent worlds with a lot of graphic interfaces. Most MMORPGs do not actively promote in-character role-playing. However, you can use the game's communication functions for role playing, and maybe they'll have some emotes, things like that. There's a few games that sort of allow you to role play to some extent, especially if you can get a few mods in there. Age of Conan, that's one good aspect of the game. I play a lot of Age of Conan, and I'm on a server, I don't know if it's called a dedicated server. It's more of a moderated server, and we got a lot of good mods in there, like immersive and the interaction ones, things like that. It's really fun. And that wraps it up for today's first episode of RP Legends. If you like the content, be sure to subscribe, hit that little like bell so you can be notified of any future videos that we're going to release. And if you have any comments, list them below just to see if you want us to cover anything particular involving roleplay or role-playing games of the like. And of course, if you want to support us financially, be sure to visit our Patreon or the other link below for Game Chase. It's where we play video games and discuss video game activity there. And we'll tune in next time on Game Chase. I'll let you guys know in the future when we're going to get a schedule, just to let you all know when these videos are going to be available. I think I'm going to hit it maybe around Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we'll see how that goes. I'll keep you guys informed when we come out with a working schedule for these episodes. Anyhow, thank you all for attending, and I'll see you soon. Peace.